and point guns at our people and try to frighten us. And we, the people, should not be afraid of our government.
What do you think is the next step? I realize you still have supporters there. The feds have backed off. I mean, what, you know, as we're watching this, what should we be looking for? What do you think is going to happen next?
Hey, you know what? This is a wild ride. We're going to take it one day at a time, but I can tell you one thing, this old cowgirl doesn't plan to get bucked off.
All right, and on that, that's my out cue on that. Carol, thank you, and we'll be watching.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. And the federal agents, well, they are now gone, so why are militia members still on the Bundy Ranch? Griff Jenkins went to the ranch to find out.
We're here just to give them a security blanket to help them rest easy at night so they can go about their day-to-day business here at the ranch.
Oh, I'm still here because I saw what was going on the news, and my friend James and I, we decided to come out and support the people that were out here and standing up to people that have seriously not read the Federalist Papers or the Constitution.
Are you itching for a fight?
No, not at all. And, you know, I've been in a fight before, and Plato said it best. It's easy to get men to go to war. It's hard to get them to go back. The last thing I want to do is be in another firefight.
I'm a former United States Marine. I'm a former police officer. I'm a former high school history teacher. I don't make this country more dangerous. I make this country more safe because I teach the founding values.
Do you want to irritate the government?
No, we do not want that at all. We have people out here to help provide support to practice their Second Amendment rights and their constitutional privileges, which have been provided to them by a real government.
How long will you stay?
Until Mr. and Mrs. Bundy look at me in the eyes and tell me they're safe and secure and I can go home to my family and tend to my business that I got down there.
We're going to continue to keep you updated on this quickly changing situation at this Nevada ranch, and tell us, though, whose side you're on. Tweet or post using hashtag Greta Bundy Ranch.
Well, new reaction tonight to the Bundy Ranch showdown, as critics suggest the federal response in Nevada was a case of overkill. And they say this is part of a larger pattern.
They can throw an army of men around there, literally, with sniper rifles, on guys just like you are, on people just like you are. Someday, they're going to throw that army of men around you.
Today is the greatest day in my lifetime. I've lived 65 years. The government just keep taking more and more federal government. Today, that's for the free men of America right there, for them soldiers that died and fought for it.
This right here is the best thing I've seen, the people taking their country back.
Judge Andrew Napolitano is Fox News' senior judicial analyst, and with me now, taking the country back. And we've heard so much about how the Bundys did not have the law on their side. They were trying to stand up for a principle. But more and more in the days after this, Judge, people are talking about how it got that far. And if you look deep into this ranching dispute, what the ranchers will tell you is this was the straw that broke the camel's back, that they feel this has been a culture of intimidation. And in fact, there was a piece in the Washington Times just today that used that term, culture of intimidation, seen in this standoff. My question to you is that valid?
Well, the criticism is valid. It is a culture of intimidation. It's the federal government using grossly excessive force in order to resolve a dispute that you and I as lawyers know, and people watching us now should understand, can be resolved by filing some pieces of paper in a courthouse. Instead of filing some pieces of paper in a courthouse called a lien, the government says that it owes him money, and a court order validated that. You file the lien on the property. And when he passes away, the government gets to collect. When he sells the property, the government gets to collect. One of those events must eventually happen, and the government can certainly exist until the money passes to it. Instead, they are showing up with an army pointing M16s not only at Mr. Bundy and his family members, but at his friends, at people there to protest, to exercise the First Amendment rights, at Fox News and at other news entities there trying to take pictures of them. That's what made this so hair-trigger-like, is the gross, unacceptable, unlawful accumulation of firepower there in order to enforce a judicial decree.
It's not the first time we've seen this. I mean, Fox News covered the raid on the Gibson guitar facilities in Tennessee, where we had agents armed with semi-automatic weapons, bulletproof vests, storming in over a piece of illegal wood that Gibson was using in its guitars. They were criticized for their behavior on a family-owned mining operation in Alaska, for heavily armed federal agents raiding that. We've seen some heavy-handed tactics, you know, in fact, in terms of these raids, and then we've seen it at a more broad level in terms of the IRS, the DOJ going after reporters, the NSA spying on us. I mean, it's big government run amok in the eyes of many.
It is the federal government thinking it is immune from the laws of the land, the laws of civility that govern the rest of us, even basic constitutional principles. There's a vast disconnect, not only between the federal government and people like Mr. Bundy. Remember, the government is the servant, not the master. That's in the Constitution on the Declaration of Independence. That's not a political statement. That's a value judgment in the American system. But the federal government believes, look, it is boasting about the fact that it has destroyed his property. The government is subject to the laws like everyone else. They destroy his property, they have to pay for it. But yet they think they can be a law unto themselves. That's why this particular case is now ground zero, Megan, for the average American who expects the government to be the servant and the federal government that thinks it can push the average American around.
But let me step back a notch, because he did not have the law on his side, Cliven Bundy.
That's right.
He had lost twice in a court of law, and what binds us together if not the rule of law? So where did the feds go wrong having the law on their side?
That's a great question. The feds blew this. They had a court order from the federal judge who issued a decree against Bundy. The Circuit Court of Appeals upheld that order. If the federal government had done this right, none of this would have happened. But they used such excessive force, such unlawful behavior, so much destruction of his property, that now the tide has turned against them. Public opinion is clearly against them. They had to back down because their behavior was indefensible at the scene. They were saying you can't even protest unless you go 3 miles away from here and stand inside a piece of tape.
Right.
So when the government loses control of the situation because of its own heavy-handedness, it's going to cause whatever court will look at this again, and you know it's going to go back to court to look at it very differently, and the government now has the losing hand.
Judge, good to see you.
Good to see you, Megan.